You've been at this venture capital game for a while. You look at lots of different kinds of companies, but I wonder how you try to identify, security's been around for virtually as long as computing and as long as the internet, certainly. How do you try to find new companies that might have a solution big enough for you to want to bother with?
Well, in security, there's the technology behind this is very, very hard. So we're actually looking for teams of real experts, and I think it's an area where there's an enormous amount of proprietary technology investment, enormous amount of academic research going on. So we're usually identifying real experts in the field. But as you say, there's a new generation of security companies. Even though it's been around, I think that the threats have really changed dramatically, not just their frequency, but their sophistication. And I think the security firms themselves really need to change the technology they're using to identify these new sophisticated threats.
Is this an innovator's dilemma situation where the old companies just can't get to the right answer because of the way they do things?
I don't know if it's so much that. I think there's just a lot of new technology development. And so there's active new research going on. And so a lot of times it's people spinning out, for instance, I have a company, Voltage Security, that spun out of Stanford. And Voltage Security. Okay. And a world-renowned cryptographer at Stanford developed a new algorithm for encrypting data. So we see a lot of new innovation. Sometimes it does come from existing companies, but I think that this is a case where there's just a constantly evolving nature of these threats. We talked about mobile, and that's going to require some mobile expertise that maybe doesn't exist in a company that grew up doing this on servers the desktop. Yeah.
Take me behind the doors, the vaunted doors at Menlo Ventures, and what's the process by which you try to start identifying these companies? Do you wait for someone to knock on the door with a PowerPoint presentation, or have you got experts doing academic? What do you do?
Yeah, so maybe in the old days you just waited for people to knock on the door, but that is certainly not what the venture capital business looks like today. So we actually are proactively doing research in a number of different areas, security being one of them. And so we're identifying people we think are experts. We're using people in our portfolio of companies to help us identify what the next trends are.
So you actually have analysts sitting there doing some work, trying to understand what the new problems are and look for people that are involved in the field?
Absolutely. Yes, we do. And we have, in fact, people that we use that are friends of the firm who are out there helping us scope out new opportunities. So we do it very, very proactively. And then it's a real market focus. I mean, we're looking for a problem that is big enough that there's going to be a new large emerging market created around it.
What do you imagine when you think about market sizes, or what's worth it for you guys to invest in?
Well, I think it's got to be a market that's at least $1 billion in size. I mean, we think about sort of $1 billion.
And you go into it thinking, look, this could be $1 billion problem, and I expect my good company to get at least 20% of that market, or is that how you think about it?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we're looking for companies, and obviously part of what we do as well is build teams around these technologies to try and make a company the leading company. But we think about backing a company that can be the #1 market share player in their emerging market. So if it's a $1 billion+ market, we're looking for companies we think can get to be few hundred million in revenue at least. I mean, that's about the size that companies have to be today to have a real successful public offering.
Because I think that one of the reasons the world at large looks at Silicon Valley is they want to find great new ideas, but you've got to be thinking so many years ahead to imagine what's going to matter. Call what? How many years ahead?
Yeah, well, I'd say we look for things that can be commercialized within maybe a 3-year time frame. I think if it's longer than that, it starts just the financial return picture is a little bit more difficult to make it sort of work out. But yeah, we're trying to think sort of 3 to 5 years ahead. I mean, in some cases, maybe a little bit longer than that.